Hey everybody, welcome back to Flow. In this class, we're going to be mixing in mobility, hip opening, and some balance work. You may want a block or two for your practice, and we'll begin lying down on our backs. So as we rest here, there's no work to be done yet, other than the work of softening and connecting to breath. If you can distinguish the three-parted breath, that would be helpful. So as you're breathing in, it's belly first filling, then the rib cage filling, and then the chest filling. And as you're breathing out, you might feel like you're emptying from the top all the way down to the bottom, so from chest to belly. Bring as much awareness to the back of the rib cage, the back of the body, as you have on the front body, excuse me, to experience the breath three-dimensionally. And the breath is savored, it's slow, it's deliberate. And staying with that slow rhythm of breath that you've just cultivated. Allow your eyes to open. Bend your knees so your feet are firmly planted on the mat at hips distance. And raise your arms to the ceiling. Once your arms are raised to the ceiling, connect your palms with one another. So let's think of this as hands and arms in extended prayer. And then start to just move the arms, the shoulders, side to side. So you can think of almost like your prayer hands as a metronome that are going one way and then the other. So we're rocking our shoulder girdle and our rib cage a little bit from side to side. Just loosening up the muscles along the back side of the spine, allowing the head to gently turn as well. You'll feel movement of the head a little bit side to side. And then start to let your metronome movement get bigger without letting your hands slide past each other. So keeping the fingerprints in contact with one another. And as you let this movement get bigger and bigger, you'll feel that your hips want to start rocking as well. You can allow that. And also allowing for the weight to shift on your feet. You might feel like you're shifting between big toe and pinky toe side of the foot. And then take it a little bigger, and the legs will start to mimic something like a windshield wipe. And then keeping your arms in this extended prayer, letting the side to side get bigger and bigger until your hips are rocking enough that one buttock is lifting off the floor as the other one stays grounded. And then finding your way slowly, slowly back to the center. Taking your arms, open them to cactus now. And then take your feet together, so Supta Baddha Konasana. We won't be here for very long. As you inhale, feel your collarbones spread wide. Your legs are far apart from each other. And then when you exhale, zip the legs together. Bring the forearms and the palms to touch each other. So we're opening and closing with breath. Breathe in and open. Legs and arms. Breathe out and close the shape. Do this a few times. Can you link it to the duration of your breathing? And think of allowing your body to like loosely and fluidly move through space. So there's not much rigidity in this movement at all. One more time, opening wide and then closing the shape. Now take your arms to a T, lift your legs to a tabletop position so your shins will be parallel to the floor. And then can you roll onto your right side where your legs are stacked, your head is grounded, and your palms have met each other in extended prayer. So now we're taking this shape and making it side lying. And then let your top hand graze along the floor. So it's going to go up and over your head, kind of dragging it along your carpet or along your hardwood until you open into a twist. So it goes up overhead and you rotate open through the chest. And then go back to where you started with that same dragging action, just in the reverse. Right. So all we're doing is really moving the top arm, which is bringing our chest and our shoulder girdle into rotation. And as you're doing this back and forth, you might notice you have some tightness along the chest, maybe in the armpit region. You could feel it all the way down your side body towards that top or bottom hip. And just this rainbow rotation a few more times. Loose, fluid, and slow. Now as you next open up and do the rainbow up and over, turn your head all the way away from the right arm and breathe into this gentle twist. Then hit the rewind and go right back to where you began. Hands and arms in extended prayer, side lying. And then take your shape and flip it. So you're going to go the other way on your yoga mat. I'm going to orient to the upper edge of my mat so I can still check in with you all. Stacked legs, stacked arms, and then the grazing. Rainbow the arm up and over till you open, twist through the chest, and then bring it back around. And this is all about feeling rather than following rules. So just tapping into sensation, connection of breath. And as you next rotate open, turn it into a twist so your head will roll the other way. Collarbones wide, breathing here. And then press the rewind, come all the way back to where you began. And from side lying, make your way up. And let's all come into tabletop together. If you have a block handy, you might want to use it for this next thing. If you don't have one, you can still do this practice, just kind of pretending. So placing a block on the sacrum, which would be the back side of the pelvis, as you establish your tabletop. And then we'll move through cat and cow, but the only part of the spine where cat and cowing is the pelvis itself. So your sit bones lift, pubic bone drops, and then the tailbone tucks and curls underneath you. So you're creating or establishing stability in every other part of your spine, except for the part that's underneath your yoga block, or if you don't have a block, except for the pelvis moving. Right? So the bottom part of the spine is the sacrum, which is connected to the back side of our pelvis. And we're just isolating, segmenting the spine right there. And can you bring yourself to neutral? So you have to feel in to what is just more long, neutral connection in the spine. Reach back if you're using a block, slide it up by 1 block's distance, so we're getting into the lumbar region. And now you'll move where the block was and where the block is, or think of moving the pelvis and just the lower 5 bones of your spine. Shoulders stay steady, upper back stays steady, and head isn't cat and cowing. Yet, anyway. And how much can you feel in, right? So I love the block. It provides some tactile feedback. There's that pressure you can feel. If you're not using a block, you really have to hone awareness to those bones of the spine. Find your way to neutral. And let's take the block, if we're using one, up 1 more level. So now it's meeting the shoulder blades in some way. And then you move everywhere the block was and where it currently is. So we're working into sacrum, lumbar, and then the thoracic spine. So that's the part of the spine that's attached to the backside of your rib cage. Still not letting your head move through its cat and cow. So we haven't used the neck yet. And let's finish this by coming to neutral, losing the block if you were using it, and now going whole spine cat-cow. That includes nose to sky. That includes in cat, chin tucking under to chest. And one last time, follow the breath. Bring yourself to neutral. Engage the muscles of your abdomen. And to see that you're not kind of hanging out in your shoulder joints or letting your spine hang, take your right hand and touch the front of your left shoulder. Then place your right hand to the ground. And take your left hand, touch the front of your right shoulder. Do a few shoulder taps, and if you feel like you're wiggling a lot, you're probably not engaging your core enough, right? So this is just a checkpoint for us to establish that strong neutral spine with that bit of core engagement. And go ahead and place both hands back, wrists under the shoulders. Right leg goes back without changing the spine too much. Right toes tap the outside of the mat back there on the right-hand side. And then the leg lifts up, goes across and taps the outer left side of the yoga mat. So we're doing lift-ups or hovers. Up and over left, up and over right. Keep the leg long and strong. Keep your eyes pointing down. Keep your front ribs pulled in a bit. And place right knee under right hip. Switch to the left, left leg back. Toes tap the outside of the mat. Establish the stationary trunk and then do your hovers. And as you bring the leg to the left, you can then set your left knee underneath the left hip. One more thing before we take our first down dog. Right foot steps forward outside of the right hand. And then moving your hips in a circular fashion. And maybe you start small because it's morning and it's cold and it's wet. And then you're welcome to get big. And what big might look like is pulling your hips back until the front toes, the right toes raise and you're on the heel skin. So it becomes a little bit like a half split. And then sweep it and go sometimes the other way. So maybe the same amount of rotation or repetitions. Coming back to shoulders over the wrists, right knee steps under the right hip. Switch out the right leg for the left leg, step the left foot outside of the hand. Go into your movement and circle pattern, small to start. Maybe giving way to big, and that's an option for you. Not a requirement. In opposite direction, back around. And finding your way, shoulders aligned right over the wrists, left knee steps back under the left hip. Adjust your hands, they go forward. Fingers spread, palms press, tuck toes, sit back, and then reach up and back. Downward dog, first one. You could pedal, you could sway, or last night we explored circling, which was kind of interesting. So letting the whole pelvis rotate with the legs evenly placed as they are in your down dog. And you can reverse that. And then full breath all the way in. Exhaling, walking the feet to the hands. Come into passive ragdoll, knees bend, and hang it all. Hang everything. You don't even need to hold the elbows. You could just let your arms drip like water too. And then give your shoulders a little shimmy. Give your head a few yes and no shakes. And come back to that idea of low belly, toned and lifted. So the same thing we established in the tabletop earlier. And roll yourself up, spinal roll to standing. And once you get to standing, bend your knees, go slack through your arms and your legs, and then create bear, like the Qigong movement where you let your arms kind of go side to side. You might let your hands tap your kidneys a bit. And think of like all of your connective tissue, so the fascia, the tendon, ligament, all of it being slack. Eventually allowing the momentum of this bear side to side work to slow and slow until you find stillness facing forward. Then come into mountain pose. So you'll create strength. As opposed to that slackness, we now engage the musculature. Exhale all of your breath. Inhale, arms rise, hook your thumbs above your head. As you exhale, take it up and over to the right, crescent shape. Keep your legs really solid. Inhale back through the center. Exhale, go up over left. Inhale, come back through middle. Exhale, forward fold, out, over, and down. As you inhale, lengthen here, crown of head reaching away from tailbone. Exhale, hands meet the ground, step back to plank, pause when you get there. A few checkpoints in plank, shoulders over wrists. Legs are just as engaged as they were in your mountain pose, and there's a widening of your collarbone. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let the knees come down. For the first one, gradually make your way to the floor. Untuck toes, press pubic bone and hands. Inhale, cobra. As you exhale, tuck toes, seat to heels, and then elevate the hips up and back to downward facing. So the first one, first Surya Namaskar, just slowing things down a little. And then we'll do a few more where we cultivate some deeper heat. And how's your breathing? Are you aware of it? Is it drawn out? Is it deliberate? And take breath all the way in. As you exhale, bend your knees, get like springy in the hips, look forward, inhale, step or jump. Keep inhaling, lift halfway, and exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms, hook the thumbs above you, right into round 2 we go. Exhale to the right. Keep your ribs and chest facing forward as you side bend. Inhale, middle. Exhale to the left. So there's no rotation here. Inhale to center. Exhale, bow forward. Breathe in and lengthen. Exhale, step to plank. Get all the checkpoints. Keep exhaling lower down. It could be knees first or chaturanga now. Inhale to your cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhale, let's go right into down dog from there. So skipping the seat to heels unless you really want it. Hips stretch back, downward facing. In down dog, negate the shrug if you feel it happening. So you're not crowding your earlobes with your arm bones, you're pressing the outer shoulders towards the floor. And take a breath in. As you exhale, crouch, get springy. Inhale, step or jump. Lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach, hook thumbs. Last round, here we go. Exhale to the right. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, up over to the left. True side bend, no twisting. Inhale, back. Exhale, bow forward. It's a hip hinge right there. Lengthen, inhale. Exhale, plank chaturanga, or you're jumping back into it. Either to the floor or not. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, fold it back, downward facing. Deep rhythmic breaths. To prepare for coming forward, inhale. Exhaling, crouch, look. Inhale, step or hop. Lengthen. Exhale, fold. As you inhale, can you reach your arms out and up? No need to hook your thumbs. Right? Palms facing in. Keep the side body long. Draw the rib cage back as if you're pressing your spine into a wall. And then try to lift your heels any amount. So you're getting vertical, like someone's pulling you up by a string. Helps to fixate your eyes on a single point. One more breath, balancing. And as you exhale, release the arms, release your heels. Take your feet as wide as your outer shoulders. And then go back and interlace your hands behind you. So when we clasp, we're clasping in the like familiar pattern. Now I want you to switch your clasp by like a finger, just make it a little awkward. So there'll be some new sensation for you. You can already feel, well, that doesn't feel like it always feels. That's good. That's novel information for your body. Knuckles down, inhale, chest and eyes lift. Exhale, bend your knees. Hang, so it's a loose, pouring spine, and arms stretching up and over. And right away, you'll get a sense for what I mean by a different sensation just by having a different clasp. And then releasing the clasp so the hands can touch floor or fingertips can touch floor. Take the left leg and step it back to a lunge, lowering your left knee to the ground. And your right arm will be inside of your right leg. So we had the feet wide when we stepped back to lunge. So this is a lot like the lizard preparation. What I want you to do is pull your hips back by a few inches and then let them hang. So really get the feeling of like hips pulling back would be pulling into our strength. And then just let the hips and pelvis drop so you feel like you're hanging, like your pelvis is a hammock. And then can you reach your sternum forward, look forward. So you get that even curvature up your spine, almost like you did in your cobra pose or in your upward facing dog pose. And taking a few breaths here. And then spin your left hand out by just about an inch. And that will set your left shoulder blade onto your rib cage well. And take your right arm, reach it up to the sky. So we're still hanging our hips forward like the hips are in a hammock. You could stay here reaching, or you can do tap downs. Tap down is just like it sounds. Right hand touches the floor, right arm reaches back to the ceiling. So you can make it static, a static stretch, or you can make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more fluid. And can you now release your right hand back to the floor, spin your left fingers so they're even with the right fingers. Lift the back knee and a big step to the front where your left foot lands just slightly outside of your left hand. Right leg goes back, we're taking the second side. Knee comes to the floor. Hips pull back. Right? It's kind of like you're pulling back on your slingshot. And then hips hang. So I want you to get the feeling of hanging out in your joint intentionally. Right? So we're choosing this hang. And then curl into the spine, sternum forward, eyes forward. And take the right hand, turn it out. Reach your left arm open to the ceiling, and you could stay static, or if you liked the tap down, add the tap down. Releasing left hand to the floor, spin the right fingertips to point to the front edge of the mat, lift the back knee, and then down dog, step it back. If you want vinyasa to continually build that heat, you can flow, inhale plank, exhale chaturanga, see if you can lower evenly. Inhale upward dog cobra, that feeling of curling into the upper back, and exhaling downward facing dog. And then using breath in, lift your right leg up and back behind you. And try to take your right leg out to the right, any amount. Like kick it out, keep it high. Bring it back to center. Do that a few times, way over to the side. So if you recall, we had our toes on the outside of our yoga mat back on the right-hand corner in our hands and knees pose. It's similar to that, except the toes aren't touching. Now, step, bend your knees, step your right foot all the way outside of your right hand. Hands press the ground, so think of creating plank as best you can, even though we have an awkwardly positioned right leg. And then can you keep the knee lifted back there and let the hips hang? Okay? So the pelvis gets into its hammock. Let the pelvis get heavier and heavier, and then slowly lower the knee to the floor. Once you tap down, you'll feel like you sink a little more into it. Stay here or bring yourself down to your elbows, or use a block to prop you up in lizard. So we're passive on purpose. I'm going to make a t-shirt that says that, passive on purpose. One more breath, whether you have your blocks underneath your elbows or you're right down on your forearms. Now bring yourself back to straight arms. Walk your hands back a few paces, so instead of being right under your shoulders, they might be more underneath your belly. Pull yourself back into a runner stretch. So that's right leg straight, but I'd like your right toes turned out slightly. And then take this into a twist. Turn the left hand out, just like we did before. Turn the navel this time, turn the chest this time, and reach the right arm clear to the sky. As you're reaching, can you pull the right hip towards that back right corner of your yoga mat? Big IT band opener for many. Then slowly bend the right knee, touch down both hands under the shoulders. Lift the back knee, downward dog, step it all the way back. Left leg lifts up. Abduct it, which means take it out to the side as best you can. Feel the strength that's required for that, then bring it back to the midline. Then take it out to the side as best you can. Feel the strength that's required for that. While it's kicked out to the side, bend the knee, knee towards elbow, land the foot outside of your hand. Create plank through the shoulder girdle, through the belly, and through the right leg. And then let your hips hang. Hammock. Breathe. Let the right knee gently land. Get even more slack in the pelvis. And you can stay or bring it down fully into your lizard. I'm going to use a prop today. Feel free to join me and block under the elbows or bring it all the way to the floor. And coming from here to straight arms, prop off to the side. Walk your hands back a bit so they're more underneath your belly. And then from there, pull your hips back. Take it into that runner stretch with the left leg long, toes slightly turned out. Right hand spins out by an inch or so. Slowly turn navel, rib cage, chest to the left and reach the left arm. As you're doing it, hip is pulling back towards the back edge of your mat. Unwind, bend the front knee, walk the hands under the shoulders, lift the right knee. Down dog, step. Vinyasa if you want it, stay put if you don't. And then from down dog together, deep breath in. Exhale, crouch, get springy. Inhale, step or hop. Lengthen. And exhale, fold. As you inhale, reach up, side body long, palms facing in. Whole rib cage draws back like you're pressing the back of your heart into a wall. Lift up through the heels any amount. Vertical up, reach. And stay and breathe. Using an exhale, release the heels and release the arms. Take a wide stance, open up on your yoga mat. Let's use the real estate. And arms will reach horizontally. So you want a big stance, arms reaching horizontal, wrists roughly over the ankles. And then work into arms, super strong, long levers, but rotating one way and then the other. So we're doing opposites here. Feel how there's a gentle movement coming from your scapula, your shoulder blades. Right? So even though the hands are moving, it's not just rotating hands, it's the whole arm bone rotating from the shoulder socket. And if you do this for long enough, you'll start to feel some heat in your biceps and your triceps and your shoulders. Okay, that's enough heat. Arms reaching, palms facing down. Take your left arm, tuck it behind you, so you're going half bound with it. So you'll notice you might be able to thread it behind so the hand is hooked outside of your hip, the back of the palm. Keep that. Turn your right toes forward. Bend your right knee till your thigh bone's parallel to the floor. And then lean and cast forward, right elbow, right thigh. So it's a half-bound version of extended side angle. Now pull your shoulders into the side plane and lengthen the crown of your head away from the bottom edge of your tailbone. And breathe with that widening and lengthening. From half bound, can you unthread the left arm, extend it up overhead so whole side body gets long? And then stay, or an invitation to touch the floor with your right hand in or outside of your right foot or to a yoga block. Exhaling, look down. Inhale, rise up, straighten the front leg. Keep the giant stance, even if it feels so awkward, and take triangle with it. Reach way out to the horizon. Bottom hand to something. Upper arm extends to sky. Lengthen your limbs. And this whole time you haven't lost crown away from tail, so you're still keeping what's called the axial extension of your spine. Looking down, exhale everything. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Keep your arms, turn your feet, right toes in, left toes out. Tuck your right arm behind you, half binding. Bend the left knee till thigh bone's parallel to ground. And then do the lean and the elbow to thigh. So there's a difference between shoulders in the side plane and squeezing your shoulder blades together. Shoulders in the side plane widens your collarbones. Shoulders squeezing back behind you shortens your upper back and pulls your shoulders not into the side plane but the back plane. So I know it's nitpicky, but shoulders in the side plane, right? Crown of head reaching away from the tailbone. Also, squeezing shoulder blades together usually juts the ribs forward. And so to keep the front body integration. Top arm can now outstretch overhead into extended side angle, long side angle through the right side. And then you decide, staying or landing hand to floor in or outside of the foot. Down eyes, inhale, come up to standing, straighten your front leg. Keep the legs so long, so far apart. And triangle, it's like a Iyengar triangle with this big old stance. Reach, bottom hand to something, upper arm to sky. Everything long, everything strong. And looking down, inhale, come all the way up. Hands to hips, turn your 10 toes so they face the same edge of your yoga mat, and then get narrower in your stance by one heel toe. And just a little. Breathing in, arms reach out. Exhale, interlace your hands behind you in the familiar way. Inhale, chest and eyes lift. Knuckles root down. Exhale, fold over. Spine hangs, head hangs, arms go for a little ride. Now you could work this wide-legged forward fold with straight legs, or you can explore, bend your knees by like an inch or two and straighten the legs by that same inch or two. So you can add a tiny little bit of, not bouncing, but conscious short bending and then going back to straightening. And come to straight legs, hands touch the ground. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, pivot around to the front of your yoga mat and bring it back to downward dog. Let's flow together, breathing in, plank, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, lowering knees first or taking chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or thigh bones lifted in your upward dog. And exhale, folding back into downward facing. Bring yourself to hands and knees, create table. If you have a block, put it on your sacrum again, just like we did earlier. If you don't have a block, you're looking for that trunk stability that we talked about. And we're also going to look for pelvis stable now. So we're not catting and we're not cowing at all. We're keeping the shoulders solid, the arms straight and strong. The spine as long as it is currently and the front ribs pulled up and in. Hips aren't going to twist. They're not going to rock. The position of your pelvis is going to stay the same. Bend your right knee so your heel pulls towards your butt. It's like you're making your hamstring and your calf muscle kiss each other. And then lift the whole right leg off the floor without kicking your hip too high. Then begin to stir the pot. So the right leg is circling. And I really mean leg. Pelvis isn't changing. Right leg is circling. So you should feel a minimal amount of movement in your yoga block. Reverse, go the other way. True hip mobility without the recruitment of your pelvis. Bringing right knee under the right hip. Reset. Left heel squeezes towards the sit bone, so calf and hamstring kiss, left knee lifts up, and then the thigh bone circles. It might not even be that big of a circle if you're being honest with the pelvis thing. Reversing and go the other way. Minimal tilting of the yoga block. And release left knee under the left hip. Move your block off to the side. Let's take a little detour. Kick your legs to one side, sit on your back side. And then take your feet as wide as your yoga mat. Your knees are pointing up. Your feet are planted. Hands go behind you, so casually leaning back. You can have your fingertips pointing to the back of your yoga mat. Stay tall through your spine as best you can. And then let your legs go side to side. What you're going to find is as you windshield wipe your legs, your entire torso's going along for the ride. So your hips are turning, your belly's turning, your chest is turning. It's fine. Let it happen. You can start to add to this like really rotation. So as you go to the right, you'll lift your left hand and sweep that left arm overhead like you're spinning your chest towards the floor. And then up and back behind you, just find a rhythm, windshield wipe the other way, turn it into a reach and a turn. Back and forth a couple of times with this. No rules, just let it feel interesting. And then find your way back to the center. Now, I'd like you to go all the way to the back of your yoga mat. So scoot so your butt is all the way at the back of your yoga mat. This is super strange, but really effective. Like I'm naming it the choo-choo train. Take your arms in front of you and you're gonna like shimmy your shoulders and like butt walk to the front of your yoga mat. Yep, so weird. It's really great for thoracic rotation. And then when you get up to the front, you gotta choo-choo it all the way back. Yep, just some butt walking, no big deal. Once you get to the back of your yoga mat, you can relax your arms. Bend your right knee, so the knee's pointing up. Grab the pinky toe side of your right foot like a seated half happy baby. And then straighten your leg and bend your knee and like pull in all different directions. If you're unsure, you just do nonsense movements like you're stirring, you're kicking, you're reaching. Orient your leg in different directions. You could use the left hand as you're doing it. So you're just messing around, nonsense movements with your hips. Very good. Okay, right leg's going back to where it was, just long and relaxed. Bend your left knee. Grab pinky toe side of your left foot with your left hand. So create that half-seated happy baby. And then just nonsensical things. Stirring, swirling, kicking. Bring it to the chest, reach it away. So you've heard of this notion of like muscle confusion, right? To get stronger. This is like joint confusion to get more mobile, right? Probably you in your whole lifetime, you've never done this particular sequence. Okay, and then release the leg. Cross your shins, go forward, take yourself into a downward facing dog pose. Deep breath all the way. As you exhale, crouch, get springy. Inhale, step or hop. Lengthen. And exhaling, fold. Inhale, reach all the way. Side body long, palms face in. Front ribs back, back of the heart pressed into an imaginary wall. Lift the heels. Find balance. As you exhale, release the arms and release the heels. Go 2 feet at hips distance apart. You might want to be near a wall or a piece of furniture because we're going to be doing some balancing work. Weight will go into your right leg, and then your left leg is going to come up kind of like a pigeon. So you're holding the left knee with your left hand, and you're holding the crease, the outer edge of your right foot with your right hand. And then you have 2 choices here. You could go to figure 4, or you're going to close the knee joints. That means calf and hamstring kiss, and work this outer edge of your foot into the crease of your hip. So it becomes kind of like a standing half lotus. If you're doing standing half lotus, you might be holding your foot with your hand. Together, go either one or both arms up. And that could be in your figure 4 or your half lotus. Great. Now we're going to forward fold with figure 4 or half lotus. Some of you will choose left arm sweeping behind you to find your left big toe as you fold. Head hanging. So we're borrowing this posture from the primary series of Ashtanga. Balance, core, hip opening, it's all rolled together. One more breath wherever you are. And then it's helpful to half lift first, so we come out in stages. Push the floor away through the standing foot, come all the way up, and then uncross your leg. Do a little knee shake, because when we close the knee joint all the way, it pushes all the blood and fluid out of it. So it might feel like it needs to hydrate. And then we'll try the other side. So the weight shifts into the left leg, the right knee comes up, and then we go into external rotation where we're holding the foot, holding the knee. This is where you can lay your leg into figure 4, or where you can close the gap of hamstring and calf and work the foot to the crease of your thigh. Explore one arm reaching. Maybe you're going to explore both arms reaching. Great. Into forward folding. If you're folding with the half lotus, you might sneak your right arm behind you to find your right big toe. And as you fold, left fingertips to the floor. The dismount is phases. Half lift first, gather the strength and steam into your left leg, come up, and then uncross the righty. Another shake to rehydrate, and then bring yourself to the front of your yoga mat. Let's take our last vinyasa together, our last flow. Exhale while you're standing here. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or jump back and lower. Breathe in, stretch the back and the front in a back bend. And exhale, fold back into down dog. Right leg goes up. Bend your right knee. On purpose, stack your right hip on top of your left. So if you reach the sole of your right foot over to the left side of your mat, you can create that. The arms stay tethered and strong. And then in a sweeping, graceful movement, right shin underneath you, land it, pigeon prep. Work your left leg back. Untuck the toes. Instead of falling forward in pigeon, try to lift your chest. Right? Feel that curve into the spine that we found in that earlier lizard pose. And breathe. And then lay yourself out and over and down, long belly, long spine. Maybe the arms extend forward. Forehead can meet the ground. Sleeping pigeon. One more breath here as you're resting in pigeon. Walk your hands and your arms back in towards you. Tuck back toes, push floor, down dog, step. Steady your dog, and then left leg goes up. Knee bends, track up and over with the sole of the foot. So you're deciding to open the pelvis. When we were doing earlier hip circles, we were not letting the pelvis get involved. Here we are on purpose allowing the pelvis to get involved. And in a grace move, pull the shin under you and land it. Right leg edges back. Untuck the toes. Create proud, lifted chest. Breathe. And then out and over, forward and down, turning this into a forward fold. Resting or sleeping pigeon. Another breath here, just savoring, enjoying. Walking the hands and the arms back in. Take the leg that's trailing behind you, bring it all the way around you. And then if you have a block, you could use it for this next posture, Omega pose. So I'm going to center my block on the yoga mat and place my feet on it. And so I want to show you from the front how that might look. The feet are turned out. So I have the heels facing into each other, but the toes turned out. And when I look at my leg shape, it's a diamond, right? So it's not a tight triangle like Baddha Konasana. There's much more space there. And then breathing in, reaching up, and breathing out, folding over. So we've done a lot of back bending, stretching front body, hanging hips slackly today. So just countering that with a little even curvature of the spine. Some of you might want to tuck your arms under your legs and use your fingers to grip the front edge of your yoga block. And feeling in, well, what would an even dome of my spine be? And create that. One more breath here, fold it over in Omega. And then allow the slow unwinding, unrolling back to sitting tall. Block off to the side if you're using it, and now do create Baddha Konasana. So tighten the shape, knees out to the side. Let's go hands free for this one. Arms reach up. Exhale, cast, like you're casting a fishing line, out and over, forward and down. Again, you'll look for even curve in the spine and breathing. And taking a breath all the way in. As you exhale, rolling up. Now the legs extend out in front of you. And just like we did standing, create either with the left leg figure 4 or the closing of the knee joint and the foot into the crease of the thigh. So one or the other. And then breathing in, reach up. Exhale, fold towards the straight leg. So if you're in the half lotus and you want to bind this just like you did when we were doing the standing version, you would sneak your left arm behind you to find your left big toe and then fold with that. Use a breath in and lengthen. Exhale and rise. Uncross the left leg. Shake out the knees. And try the other side, picking up the right leg, ankle to thigh, or into the hip crease you go. Folding up, out, over, and down with or without the binds. So I'm letting you decipher here. Use breath in, elongate. Exhale, come all the way up. Unhook, unlatch the leg, shake knees. Scoot forward on your mat so you have enough room to roll all the way back. Knees bent, soles of the feet grounded. Just like we began, extend your arms, meet your hands in prayer. Side to side, rocking. Start with just arms, chest, shoulders shimmying a little. And let it get bigger, bigger, and bigger until you feel your hips want to get involved, your legs want to get involved. It turns more into like a moderate windshield wipe feeling. Coming back slow, slow to the center. So let that momentum of side to side slow down. Keep your arms as they are. Lift your legs to that tabletop. Roll all the way to your right side. So you've got the legs stacked, the arms stacked, and the head down. Back into the grazing, up and over, rotating open. Guaranteed it's going to feel 100 times different than the first set we did in the beginning of practice, where you might have had a shoulder that was floating away from the ground as you opened into your twist. You might now find it's grounded. The sensations have changed or lessened. As you open up into this next open rotation, stay, look to the left. You might even take your right hand and hold on to that top leg, deepening your twist. Come all the way back to where we began. Slide the arm up and over, meet the hands, and then shift the other direction. Same setup, just oriented the opposite way. Into the rainbow or the dragging twist, up and over and back around. And then as your next opening, stay there. Turn the head to the right. Maybe you catch that top leg with the left hand. Final twist. Steady breath. And slowly unwinding, coming back to where you started. And flip onto your back now, right where you are. Give your legs a gentle hug. Move side to side so you release the back of the pelvis, the lower parts of the spine. Soften them into the floor. And then finding stillness, letting the right leg and left leg rest long along your yoga mat. Arms resting by your sides. Inviting the eyes to close. And taking that narrow and pinpointed awareness that we were cultivating through feeling sensation and connecting to breath. Let that narrow focused awareness get like vast and wide. So in Shavasana, it's not that we're becoming less aware. It's that our awareness is broadening to be able to hold more in it as we relent, soften, and surrender. If you're finding it difficult to take this time for resting, you might choose to do a gentle breath counting practice. And just a few minutes for you to not have to do, be, perform in any way. And slowly bringing awareness back from its broad scope to feeling breath, ins and outs of breath. And re-energizing through fingers and toes, finding movement in them. And stretching arms, reaching legs, extending long. Bending knees, one, then the other. Roll onto your side, and when you get there, bring your awareness to your back. So right to the spine, the length of it, the natural curves of it. And take a few breaths that you breathe towards your spine. So the breath pushes back instead of forward. Having filled the back body with breath, press into the ground and lift yourself to seated. When you get there, closing eyes, joining hands together, a gesture of gratitude and offering. And we'll offer the sound of the Om to close practice. Exhale fully. Take a breath in. And may the merits of this practice we've done here today benefit all beings everywhere. Namaste.